Hello, everyone. I'm Tom. And since this coronavirus disruption started, I've been hosting this vlog to eat beef jerky and talk to you on the internet. I'm not a food critic, so the beef jerky part is silly and pointless. But this vlog has let me explore some fun ideas with you, especially regarding game design, and I plan to keep doing it. So, today is the 16th of February 2021, 2:16, halfway through February of the second plague year. Um, and in general, like I said in the last episode, the exciting thing is that vaccines are here, and vaccines have been coming, and vaccines for those of us like me who have not got one yet will be here soon. Um, Very exciting. Also very necessary because now we know more about the coronavirus 19. We're finding that it mutates quickly and has several kind of scary variants. And we're well aware that there's the British 117 variant that's kind of taken over because it's even much more virulent than the previous strain. However, it appears also to be affected properly by the vaccine. So, as long as our vaccines keep working to one degree or another, then we can all beat this thing. It's very exciting. We just have to keep masking, keep being careful, get our vaccines, and we can get back to normal, or at least as normal as we can. It's just a matter of, doing it right, being careful, listening to the people who know. But we all know that. I'm not here to lecture you. I'm here to talk to you about this being my 60th episode of my silly and meaningless beef jerky blog. That's pretty cool, isn't it? 60th. And I have something special planned. Something that's really special planned, but I totally have something special. And I'm so excited to share it with you. But first, let's actually go get to the segment of our show where we talk about games. And I really have something that I think is fascinating and interesting from a game design point of view today. And that is Blaseball, and more specifically, that is about the resolution of the human mind. I'm not sure if you know, but Blaseball is a game. It's also a kind of a web phenomenon. It's a multiplayer betting experience, and it is eagerly its own thing, breaking its own molds. Mostly it's just a website where you go and click around and follow the links and sign up and bet on fantasy baseball games. The screen I'm showing you here is probably one of the most complex graphics that you'll see when you engage with Blaseball, which is really the heart of what I'm talking about today. Blaseball itself is interesting and fascinating for being what it is, kind of a flash in the pan internet culture phenomenon, and being unreservedly weird. The kind of enjoyable, like, oh, we're gonna break all the rules. Who cares? Woohoo! Let's do this. Let's do it upside down. Let's do it black and white. Oh, why don't we make all the umpires nuns? Who cares? Woohoo! That kind of eager, frivolous insanity in a game design definitely has its place. But Blaseball, as you can see right very clearly on the screen, is fundamentally baseball. It's got a lot of interesting, fun layers, but I'm not sure that the layers themselves are magically the right layers that cause what is obviously a very excited and loyal fan base to pop up around it. It's just, one of those things. But I think it's really distinctive because what I've just been saying is, again, is that the screen I'm showing you now is about the most graphically intensive, information dense screen that I can show you about Blaseball. And that certainly says a lot. And it says several things. I have an anecdote. I was, in around 2000, I was working at Acclaim on All-Star Baseball 2002. And then we went on and did the All-Star Baseball 2003. We initially built it for the PlayStation 2. And then, of course, in the next year, we also moved over and also had Nintendo GameCube dev kits, and we uh, made it for the Nintendo GameCube as well as the PlayStation 2. And then I moved off that project for a short time and then got headhunted away to another company. So those were the 2 years that I spent on All-Star Baseball for Acclaim. And that was definitely one of the better teams that I'd ever worked with. I really liked the guys who worked with me. They knew what they were doing. They were all hardworking, and we had a really good team lead. And I was not the baseball guy. There were other people on the team that were the expert baseball people, the people who lived and breathed baseball. And I got that. I understood that. That's fine with me. I don't need to be the baseball expert. I just need to do my job. And my job specifically in that thing entailed the drawing and data processing of the stadiums and also the weather effects and things like that. I also did incidental or associated things like the collision detection, where the baseball would bounce off the stadium walls, and a few other things. But really, it was about the stadiums and the environment. And the most fun I had, of course, was doing the particle system. To do the smoke and not the smoke. You don't get much smoke in baseball, but you get dust. You do get a little bit of rain, a little bit of snow, not much of either. And of course, the cold breath was a lot of fun. So at any rate, I had a pretty good time and worked with a pretty good team. But this anecdote is specifically about that while I was early in the team, I was working with PJ Snavely, the team lead, the excellent team lead that I talked about earlier. And we were architecting the engine because we were starting from scratch. And meanwhile, there were other true baseball guys who knew that baseball was about huge, vast databases of statistics. And they were busy taking the official database of statistics from Major League Baseball that the company had licensed for far too much money, I'm sure, and massaging it data-wise into what we could put into the PlayStation 2 and use as our fundamental data to control the game. So at one point early in the process, I think Matt, one of the real baseball guys, came to me and he said, I've got all this data about what happens in baseball games and all these different players and what are their wins, losses, strikes, balls, that kind of thing. Can you build me a user interface, a structured game that shows me how that data works so that I can be sure that I see something meaningful on the screen that's related to this particular player has a .096 batting average. I, of course, really I needed Matt to explain to me what does that exactly mean, and how do you come at that number and that kind of thing. But together, and I was like, sure, but we haven't even started on this engine. He's like, no, I just want something fast and cheap and easy thrown up on the screen. Well, rapid prototyping is one of my special abilities, so that day I was able to, or maybe the next day I was able to give him a very simple diamond shape showing little indicators of who was on base and which runner was where, with little pop-up images of whether it was a ball or a strike or a foul or whatever, according to the algorithms that he'd worked out with me. And I started pulling that data from the database that he'd given me. So it didn't take long, but we had it up and running. But what we had up and running was essentially a baseball game. It was just running. It was just players playing baseball. And it was incredibly primitive graphically. It was just a few dots on the screen and some text. And when I got it working, I called Matt over, and PJ was near, so he came too. And I was running. And those guys got lost in it. They were lost in the game. They were mesmerized. Just a few pieces of text, just a couple dots on the screen. And they were like, ooh, wow, ooh, amazing, wow, ooh, poor guy, ooh, yeah, amazing, wow. They were just entranced. Certainly this is not the only lesson I've had in my life that our imagination is bigger than the pixels on our screen, that, the computer can give us information in a fairly bland way, and we humans can kind of read between the lines. We can build on that. We can we can embellish the stories. And I certainly saw a great deal of embellishment. And it was all for those guys. It was that they knew the players, they knew baseball, they knew what the little dots and the small amount of text were actually representing in their minds. And that was enough for them. It was very powerful. So, and I was just blown away at the time. But again, this is not the only lesson that I'd learned, that you don't have to, you can tell and not show, especially when it comes to the human mind. And you don't have to provide the most amazing graphics in the whole wide world for players of games, not just baseball, but all games, to fill in the blanks. In fact, I'm not sure, but my older viewers will probably understand the concept that they have memories of this amazing video game that they played 20 years ago, and they look at it now, and they look at them, they say to themselves, wow, not only are the graphics much more primitive, but I don't remember them being that primitive. I remember the game being much more detailed and much more graphical and much more amazing to look at than what I'm seeing now 20 years later. And of course, the general consensus is, well, we filled in the blanks. We looked at a game that was graphically inferior to what we have today, but it was what we had 20 years ago, and we loved it, and it was great. Anybody who played GoldenEye on the Nintendo 64 back in the day, I mean, that was a huge monster success, a true killer app, a system-defining piece of software. And if you went back and you looked at it today, even looking YouTube's videos of GoldenEye, it looks so primitive. It's almost hard to imagine that anyone could play it at all. And incidentally, if you actually did sit down and play it again today, you would realize, wow, it still feels primitive, like almost nobody could play it at all. It's not nearly as intuitive, and the controls are not as well set up as a modern FPS, a modern first-person shooter. But it was still a huge hit at the time. You see, we take what we get, we enjoy it, we embellish it in our own minds, because the human resolution is infinite. And I think one of the most interesting things about the human resolution being infinite is that some people knew this all the time. It was the tagline of Infocom, the original game company way back in the day that sold us text adventures back when I was a teenager. Their whole attitude was, we're just going to put text on the screen and let your mind add the graphics. And frankly, I think they were right. I mean, they obviously weren't in a certain way, because obviously the video game industry is now still very much all about graphics and being as pretty as possible. But in one other way, they were certainly correct. And that's what I was saying, is that baseball is just another, it's a very interesting kind of internet phenomenon and game experience in its own right. But it's also very distinctively part of that continuum of us constantly seeing that at the end of the day, we don't need the most perfect graphics, because our minds fill in the blanks. One more anecdote in this same vein, that years ago, maybe 20 years ago, somewhere around there, I went to a little game conference in Austin, Texas, and I met a couple who had basically built a website, MMO, multiplayer, kind of horse ranch kind of game, where you purchased and bred horses, and you did things, and you raced them, and you raised them up, and you kept them, and you had foals and whatever. So there's this whole thing, and obviously it appealed to kind of the breeder, creator, manager kind of gameplay. But it was massively multiplayer. Everybody logged onto the same website and interacted over chat, and it was actually pretty primitive. It was mostly text, and for a game that was supposed to be about beautiful horses, there was actually very little graphics, horse or otherwise. But when I talked to them, they seemed to be doing pretty well for themselves. And one of the things that they were personally blown away with was the fact that they they could actually charge premium money. They actually had microtransactions, even back as far as that goes, that were working for them when they were selling the ability for horses to have different colored manes. And what was distinctive is they didn't sell an image of a colored mane at all. They literally were selling the word of the color in the stat sheet for the horse. If you purple mane, you have to pay extra for the ability to have a purple mane on your horse. But when you actually got the purple mane, what you always saw was a little block of text describing the horse, including the word mane : purple. And they themselves were blown away that people were willing to pay $10 for that piece of text. So we work on graphics all the time, but there's just so many examples of how, in some ways, graphics don't matter at all. And it's all because of the imagination of the human that is participating in the video game creation. Fascinating. All right, well, blah, blah, blah games. Let's talk about jerky. But before we talk about jerky, we're going to talk about something special. Valentine's Day was just a couple days ago, and I got a wonderful Valentine. Check it out. This is a Valentine's pack with, oops, I dropped one, with assorted beef jerky sampler. How amazing is that? But the most amazing thing is that this logo right here says Man Crate. I loved it. It was a wonderful Valentine's gift. And in it are 10 different pieces of, well, they don't call them jerky, they call them beef strips. Like this ghost pepper. Look out. That's probably the hottest one, but I don't know. I haven't tried any of them. And each of them is just a tiny little piece. So we're not going to have, I'm going to have to, there's not much to try. Well, it will one shot, one attempt. But there are 10 of them. And they're all from Man Crates. So here's the deal. I'm going to try one of these, and it will be my jerky tasting for the day. But 10 different ones in a variety pack like this, I can't let this opportunity go. So we're having a lightning round. And by that I mean I'm going to be doing follow-up videos every day until this pack is finished. Every day I'm going to try one of these Man Crates beef strips and tell you what it's like. I'll make a jerky video every day. It'll probably be a short one because I'll just be saying, hey, look, here's a new video. Here's new jerky. Let's try it out. Boom, crash. But we're going to start today. And I actually dropped one here. Hope it's not the ghost pepper. No, it's classic. I can't think of a better way to start than with the classic. So today let's do the classics, and then I'm going to lightning round all of these Man Crate jerkies one day after another. Sound good to you? Let's get started. This is the classic beef strips. Got my soda. If I can get it open. Can I get it open? I don't know that I can get it open. Well, here's a little serrated edge. Do I even have any tools? I have a pair of needle nose pliers. Truly what you would use with a Man Crate. Okay, that's not working. What am I supposed to do? I know. Safety cutter, because it's a Man Crate. All right. Wow. This package needs a man just to open it. All right. This is the classic beef strip. It's a little sweet. All right. That wasn't bad. That wasn't too dry. Wasn't too wet. Not the least bit hot. Um, Sweeter than I would expect. Sweeter than something like a Jack Link's beef jerky. But good. Not bad at all. I would say it's an auspicious start to the lightning round of my Man Crates jerky. That's excellent. All right. Let's look at the mailbag, shall we? The mailbag is not just Adam Parra, though I always appreciate what he has to say. But the rest of them, of the posts from Nathan Quinn and Matt Sheep, are really about my kind of preview of the nebulas of Artemis 3 that I've been working on with my Artemis game. Thanks, guys. I will keep working on it, and I will open it up to alpha testing as soon as I'm able. Also, Adam had a lot of things to say. You're welcome to go check out the comments on last week's episode if you'd like. But I think what's distinctive about, for me, is what Adam had to say is, vegan jerky, what an oxymoron. It makes sense, especially since when we had the vegan jerky from previous weeks, it wasn't my favorite. He says, I have seen it before and have always wanted to try it. Well, you're welcome to. He says, I have tried to replace mushrooms with meat and it has been hit and miss. Yeah, I mean, I think all of us recognize that meat ain't cheap, and it isn't necessarily, something that we, always want to eat. Nothing but meat all the time. Veggies are good for us, right? That's what Mom said. And if we had, basically burgers that tasted like burgers, but were better for us, we'd probably all eat it. Probably. But everybody's a little different. I think they keep trying. I think there are new solutions every day, and that's exciting. So I agree with Adam. What an oxymoron. But hey, let's be foodies. Let's figure this out. Let's keep an open mind and taste things. All right. So, just wanted to say one more time, it's time for the Man Crate lightning round. I will be coming back to you quickly to finish off this lovely crate of flavored meat that my wife got me. Thanks, honey. It's awesome. All right. And I hope to see you for each of those videos. We'll see how it goes. Thanks.